Tell me when I'm live. Hi guys, how are you? Welcome to this week's Facebook session. We're trying something new with backgrounds now. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of new stuff, and I think the Sword Experience is going through all that stuff, as well as different things. We're coming out of this pandemic, and well, some of us are coming out of this pandemic with all the vaccines that are going around. As I know Europe is still kind of shut down. We actually had a request to go to Ireland again this year, but Ireland's vaccination is not going to be done until at least July, and even then it's still going to be restrictions. So unfortunately this year I don't think Ireland's going to be there. I don't know about any of our other European locations, unfortunately, because well, with travel restrictions and quarantines and all that, I just don't know. So we can't sort of plan something, but I am planning a retreat in Mexico, perhaps the end of November, beginning of December. So if any of you are interested in that, you should contact us and let us know, because we're going to have limited spaces for that, of course. I just came back from Mexico. It's very safe. It's everybody's wearing masks in the staff. Some of the people, the young people, are not. They're still just going out and partying and doing whatever they want to do, which is understandable, I suppose, to a degree, because when you're young you don't really know any repercussions. So we're going to actually be looking at that later this year. We've got a lot of our events are actually starting up again. We've got Colorado Springs we're just about to put on there. We've got Lakeland, Santa Clara. We're also looking into New York, Boston. We're looking at a bunch of places. And right now, I'm also due to do one convention in July, and as well as Combat Con in July. But we'll see whether those actually pan out. As Las Vegas is opening up and everything is opening up, everybody will be like, "Oh, we're back to normal," and then all of a sudden, I think probably we're going to see some spikes in some things. Because I don't know, how do you guys feel about this? I mean, you know, it's been a while, and all the vaccine talk. And some people don't want the vaccine. Some people say it's not valid. I mean, I do know that there are different vaccines and there are different strains. This is going to become like the flu in a sense, because you're going to have to keep taking different vaccines for different strains that keep coming out. So there's a lot of things. I actually came back from Texas, from Austin, and there's a debate going on between the state of Texas and the city of Austin, where they're actually arguing or actually trying to sue the city of Austin, because they said, well, we're going to wear masks, and the governor's like, no, we've passed a mandate that no masks are now required. And but there's a big hoo-ha going on about that. So it's kind of interesting. We have masks when we deal with the Sword Experience right now, purely and simply because I just don't know, and I just don't want to be responsible for anybody catching anything. So we kind of put that in our mandate for now, for the next few months. So we have to have that at the moment, and you know, it's a short period of time, and you can take the mask on and off when you're on your own, and then when you get back to a group, you put it back on again. We didn't have any problems in Austin. We were actually in 80-degree weather, and everybody had a good time, and great location actually. It was a ghost town, and the ghost town was built. It was built from scraps. Originally, apparently, he found some things in the dirt, and then started getting reclaimed wood from a lot of different places and built this up. I mean, it's got 3 different big saloons in it. It's got a little mining portion of it, the corral, a regular Western town, and it has people come and watch. And they were very nice. And just so that you know, we're now changing our Sword Experience format. We're going to actually be putting a lot more of our Sword Experience event on YouTube, and we're going to be probably putting out 15-20 minutes of our events now online, that will be mixed with people's comments, movie clips, different things. So it kind of gives you the experience of what that whole experience was about, which film it was about, what the location was. We're going to try and do a little bit more documentary style stuff, as well as the the little film that we put out for each event that we go to, because I kind of feel that that's kind of part of the fun of it. I'm creating an experience here. I'm not here to teach you a certain style. The idea is to give you the want and the will to do swords and to do something different for your fitness. You know, I mean, we have our Patreon stuff, which I'm about to talk to, because Patreon at the beginning of May will cease to exist. We're going to stop Patreon and we're going to move it to our own site. We will be restructuring certain things. So just so that you guys know, it's we're actually going to be offering a lot of our other videos to you guys. Those of you that have just joined Patreon, don't worry about it. We will, you know, give you some other extra stuff to continue your membership, and a lot of our stuff that we have on Patreon will go onto our site. We're working on that right now, and of course we have our VertCon event coming up in May 15th. We've got. I'm still grabbing more celebrities for that. We'd like to get 100 or 200 people on the site. Just if we could get that, we'd be happy, because we're trying to get people to do something different. We've got 10 different instructors right now, from Mark Makita, who's doing Filipino martial arts, Chad Hawthorne, who's doing gun safety and on film. We have John Krang, who's a martial artist and a choreographer, to teach you about choreography on film. Of course, I'll be doing an event. We've got meditation, we've got fitness, we've got a lot of different instructors that you can take part in. It's not just sitting there looking at a Zoom call, as well as our vendors. We have vendors from sword manufacturers to salmon jerky, and I believe a CBD oil for massaging into bruises and things of that nature. So we're trying to get this up, as well as our celebrities. We just had another couple sign on. So we're working it, and what we need you guys to do is actually share it, so that people know about it. And you'll probably see a lot of ads coming out soon highlighting this event. So we're going to try and do this, if we can, once every few months, so that we bring a whole brand new thing to the platform, as well as changing, of course, the things on our platform. As I said, first of all, the Patreon will be it. I'm also looking at streaming some of our events. We've got a lot of different things. I think that's kind of the thing that happens in this pandemic here. We've got to come out of it and change the way we did things, and as well as doing some of the old things in a slightly different way, but doing the new things that will affect this pandemic. I mean, it's obviously, the pandemic is something that is upon us across the world, so it's not going to affect anybody differently. I hope you guys are safe, and I'll take some of your questions now. I just wanted to sort of mention that at the beginning before I forget, because I will forget certain things. And we're trying to we also have one other thing that we're going to launch, and it's in conjunction with Richard Gainey out of Florida. It's Vitae Vim Virtus Institute. Vitae Vim Virtus Institute. And it's a fan-based Star Wars institute, where you will be able to pass through different levels. You will get badges, and it's really very cool. It's based on real-life martial arts, in sword work, in open hand work, in theology, in a lot of different things. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just one thing. You could do the counselor level, which is all about theology and about what it would be like to become a Jedi Knight. What is a Jedi Knight? Jedi Knight is somebody, I believe, that is a sage, somebody that is an intelligent person that understands that there is also a thought process to go through any art or situation, and that's what the Jedi were. They were all knowledgeable kind of things. And then there's obviously the open hand technique, which allows you to have certain forms, certain exercise to do it, and there's different levels for that. And then the last one, of course, is the I want to call it the light wand. Can't say lightsaber, because otherwise Disney will come after me. But that would be, and this has actually been in the University of Southern Florida for the past 3 years as a successful event for the students. So it's a curriculum, and we're going to hopefully be trying to take that into universities and things of that nature. So, it's something we're going to offer everybody. It can be for kids. It can be for young adults who want to just try something different, or Star Wars fans. We're really sort of kind of excited about it. It's a different type of event that we kind of launched. We're still in the process of finalizing it. We've got all the the artwork and the structure. Now we're just another month or two away before we're really going to deliver the platform. You should be seeing it on VertCon. Richard will be doing something for it on VertCon itself. So, and you Star Wars fans out there, we will be actually bringing you something a little bit different than what the Sword Experience has done before. And as you've noticed, our site has changed, our merchandise has changed. We've just brought out our new T-shirts. Those will be on site in the next within the next week. We're just adding so many things at the moment that our webmaster's kind of going, oh my gosh, what do we have to do? So we're bringing out a new T-shirt. The ones that some of you actually saw, there was a contest 2-3 months ago that we actually had about the statement. And so we brought those out, and we actually aired them the first time in Austin. And it's a easy little thing to have. It's a simple T-shirt, and we decided to go with a slightly different design this time. We also will have. We're looking at a bunch of different things. We've got sweatshirts, sweatpants, another type of T-shirt, another training T-shirt, different things that we're getting. So really, I'm going to start taking some of your questions. I actually know that Lana asked me about whether when she wants to start with the sword, whether she should start with a boken or an actual stage-ready sword. I would start with a boken. I mean, anywhere that you start, pretty much, you start with a wooden weapon. When I started doing nunchucks, I didn't go directly to the metal ones. I started with the light rubber ones, because you will make mistakes. The wooden ones are exactly the same weight, or some of them are the same weight as a stage sword, and stage swords are lighter than the regular sword because the metal is different. But I would do the wooden one. What it's about is about movement, and that's what we taught, or I taught, or I teach during ours is the movement of the weapon, how it doesn't just move from one spot to the next, how it flows from one to the next and allows you to move correctly from one movement to the next. So you've got to understand that, and as well as the fact that the footwork is drastically important, because that shows you whether you are capable or not. And I've mentioned this before in a lot of my teachings or my events, should I say. If you look at any of the old manuscripts, if any of you that are HEMA instructors or HEMA affiliates or HEMA aficionados, which stands for Historical European Martial Arts, they talk about all the manuscripts that a lot of these gentlemen or ladies, mainly gentlemen, who survived the 16th century, 15th century sword fights, wrote these manuscripts, and all of them, doesn't matter what kind of style they talk, they all talk about movement and how important it is to be on the move so that you can get around your opponent's attack or defense. So the footwork is very, very important, and that we don't really see. And I a lot of times see people moving just from the top and not using their feet like they would normally do if they were actually walking. So that's really kind of what we do at the Sword Experience, is kind of teach you the basics as well as the experience of what it's like to be in a sword fight or a fight on film, and what the location is. So that's all of it. Which brings me to my next question, which is from Priscilla, who asked if we do our New York event, will it be an elite event? I believe so. That's what I'm hoping it to be, is an elite event. We've actually released 3 academy events right now for April and May, purely and simply because some of the locations are still shut down, so we can't use them. And you know, it's a great time to continue learning. And I think you still learn, for those of you that are new to the sword experience, you still learn about sword work, about distance, about footwork, about having fun doing it, because that's the idea of this, is to have a good time doing it, as well as the fact of learning it correctly. So New York, we've never been to New York. We've tried to go to New York. I was actually, a year ago, I was putting stuff up online and we contacted the location we're talking to on Monday. We talked to about a year ago, but a lot of the other places, a lot of the parks in New York, the great locations we could get in a lot of other cities would not allow you to do a commercial event there. So that then shuts you down to the regular places. And since New York is a very expensive area and tight area, it doesn't always allow us to go to different places with what we want to do. So it's you know, it's been a little bit difficult trying to find a location that fits the elite type of events, all the academy events, the price structure, and the distance between, you know, the city itself and any outlying places that we would possibly be able to go to. So yes, elite event is what the plan is for New York. Again, plans are made and sometimes destroyed by one small thing. What happened lately? Yeah, I mean, we were, you know, sometimes when we go to event places and we contact the place, sometimes they don't even reply for 3 weeks. And I mean, we had that when we were dealing with castles in England initially. It would take 2 or 3 weeks to reply, and then they reply, what is it you're looking to do? And then we call them back, and then it would take another week for them to reply. And we'd be like, come on, you've got to get, you know, it's a little frustrating sometimes to do that, but we will out in the end, as they say. Claudia, hello, Claudia. Claudia asked what it was like to be on stage in Things Just Change. It was fun. I love being on stage. I really do, but it doesn't pay. That's the problem when you've got 3 kids. I would love to do more stuff, but now, you know, as you get older, my intent is not necessarily just my acting. It's also my producing, my directing, the sword experience, and mainly putting my kids through a good education and getting them a good step up in life. So really, that's what I do things for now. It's my priorities kind of changed. And you know, it's funny because I've watched my wife. My wife is a lot younger than I am, so I've watched all her school friends, and she was actually showing me one of her school friends last night, and I looked at her and I was like, wow, she's gotten a lot older now. She's got much more serious, and she's got to deal with kids, and the whole way of being has changed now because you have more responsibility and your thought processes. But you know what? I kind of look at things. I'm like, well, we get more serious sometimes when we get older, and we forget the joy we had when we had no worries. And sometimes we've got to get rid of that because, you know, life is too short. You know, things can, you know, I've had friends of mine die too young, and, you know, you didn't even realize. So I always tell my kids, don't go to bed angry. Don't say goodbye to anybody angry, because you just don't know if you're ever going to see them again. And that doesn't mean they're going to die. It might mean that they're not going to be in the same space as you are. You know, I've not seen my brother physically, or both my brothers. The last time I saw him was my mom's funeral, and prior to that was like 5 years before my other brother. So sometimes it just, life puts you in the way. So you know, Monica's asking, where can I find training for people the same age as me? Where can you find training the same age for people as me? You don't need training for the people the same age as you. You just doesn't matter where you train. Doesn't matter whether they're 15 or 35 or 65. You know, because everybody's going to move differently. I move better than a lot of 30-year-olds, you know, and I'm only 25. All right, okay, maybe I did not so much. But anyway, that doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter, because you can have a kid that is 10 years old and they move better than a 30 or 40-year-old. So training with somebody that is 40 years old does not mean that's what you should be looking for. You should be looking for the teacher and the type of class that it is. What is it? Do you understand it? When I first started taking martial arts, I kind of went, well, there's so many of them. There's Kung Fu, and there's Karate, and Hapkido, and wushu and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what? So I just literally had to go around and look at different teachers and see what I understood, what kind of made me tick, if you like, that type of stuff. Because otherwise, it doesn't matter if you say, well, this is a great teacher, and you go there and you don't really click with them or don't understand what they're teaching you, or they're teaching the wrong type of stuff for you to grasp. So it's really important on the type of teacher that you get rather than the people that are training there. Yes, it's important to see that they have a certain amount of experience and they do things well and they do it correctly. But again, it's all dependent on you. I mean, Shaolin Kung Fu, if I go in Shaolin Kung Fu, it's very rigid. I studied with a Shaolin priest, and you're doing it in a certain way, and if you don't do it that way, you're not doing it, and you get out of the class because it's much more rigid. Other places are not like that. They're more loose. They just do bag training, and they do techniques, and they do different things. Krav Maga, for instance. There's different ways, so just really look at that. Am I coming to Philadelphia? Yes, I'm coming to Philadelphia. That's another one. Actually, we're looking at between Baltimore and Philly. I think we're on Ohio at the moment. I think that's where we're at, where we're releasing it. We've been looking at our East Coast events, and yes, we're looking definitely at East Coast. We want to do Philly, Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh. Between Cleveland and Pittsburgh, we've chosen a place, so it's like an hour or so apart from both those places, so we can get a good amount of people, and it's fun. So we've looked at different spots, and we are going to be bringing them. But as you've noticed, our site is gradually getting more events put up on the site, but it just takes time sometimes to get hold of. So yes, we are trying to get to the Philly area. It won't be right in Philly because I'm going to try and get two cities in one, because between Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, we're looking at all those places. So yes would be the thing. Now, somebody else has asked, is there any chance of another Highlander show? There's always a chance, yeah, but I have no clue about it. To be honest, Highlander is a product, and it is owned now. The original people, the original producers, now both died. Peter Davis just recently passed away. Bill Panzer passed away about 4 or 5 years ago now. Actually more, my gosh. Time has flown. So it's funny that, isn't it? You sit there sometimes and you don't realise how quickly time has gone by. I mean, it's a year and just over a year and something, and I've just had a new baby. So it's like, 7 is now beginning to want to walk, and you're like, well, where did that happen? You were like this a minute ago. Same with my daughter. My daughter's up to here now on me. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going, and now she's getting all the sass going up, and I've got all the, you don't understand this. And the funny thing is, with my daughter, I'll talk about the Highlander show in a second, but I'll get to my daughter. I'll talk about the Highlander show first. So the Highlander is owned by Lionsgate now, and Lionsgate are deciding what they want to do with it. I did talk to them at one point and say to them, I wanted to sort of take the character of Duncan MacLeod and utilize just that character in a spin-off type of idea. And they said, no, we keep all our characters right now. And, but we are looking at possibly doing something. But again, that's been a number of years that happens. And as I said, it's like getting our locations. One small thing changes the direction. It could be a change of an executive. It could be, the new director they brought on doesn't like the cast they've got, so they go and try and recast it. It could be a bunch of different things why the products don't actually work. But again, they said, at some point we'd love to bring it back. And I think there is still a lot of interest in Highlander. I think it would have a lot of say in today's society just because, but think about it. Think about how that would work based on all the internet stuff and the TikTok. Can you imagine Highlander doing TikTok? Which reminds me, we're trying to bring a Sword Experience TikTok site out. We're talking about that as well. Lots of new stuff. But, it's a different society. So living in Immortals now, how would you try and stay in the shadows? It's a lot harder because everything you're doing now is like you've got to know who this person is, where you live, what your passport number is, etc., etc. Now with cryptocurrency and blockchain, all that again is a whole line of you now know where somebody comes from. I don't know if any of you know about cryptocurrency and blockchain, but it's all logged. So anytime you do any transaction, it is logged. It knows where it comes from. So all those middlemen are cut out. So the same thing would apply here. You will know where everybody lives and how long they've lived. So you'd have to have some sort of different way of being immortal, if you like. Which brings me back to my daughter again now. She's, as I said, she's like 11 years old. Is she 11? Yeah, 10 or 11. I've totally lost track. 11. She's 11 now. And see, I told you time flies. And you know, hey, and she does that, and I keep telling her stuff. And you know, my son, you know, if my wife and I start jamming a little bit, they're like, oh, please, you're embarrassing us. You're embarrassing. So the other day, I had some music on, and I started just really jamming. And my daughter's like looking at me like, she would do like that because she was like, I didn't know you could do that type of stuff. It was really funny. She looked at me because she's like, oh my God, you know how to lock, you know how to pop. I'm like, yes, honey, it was invented way before you were even born, way before you were even a twinkle in your father's or mother's eye. Locking and popping and what I used to do, dance and jazz and all that. I did all of that. I did ballet. I did that. You know, that was a long time ago, but I still have the ability to do some of those things. So young people forget that, and you know, I love how kids, and I think I did the same thing. My dad would be like, you know, something like this. I'd be like, oh God, please don't do that. You know, you're embarrassing me. So I think kids, unless you're showing them that all the time, then they get very embarrassed. As well as, it's funny because last night I was jamming when my little baby Sevi was in the bath, and he loves to dance. You stick any music on, he's doing this. I'm like, where'd you learn that? He goes. So it's kind of fun to watch that, because if you grow up with that with them, they're not going to be as embarrassed later on when you do bust a move in front of their friends. You know, you might look cool, or some of your friends will be like, what's your dad doing? What was it? They'll be like, it's okay, he does it all the time. You know, he's cool, he knows a couple of moves. Try that one he's doing. But anyway, Priscilla, I see you're asking about what's going on with the Peace Fund. You know, as again, all these changes that are going on in the world, we're trying to do the same thing with the Peace Fund, is change things up. We're looking at this online platform for our Kids Read to Lead program, and to see whether that's actually going to work. We're looking at affiliating ourselves with other people, but sometimes, I mean, the issues with the Peace Fund, this is what happened to me back in 2000. We ran the Peace Fund for about 3-4 years before it just got too much work. To get to where it should go was too much work for just 2 or 3 of us to actually handle. And so looking at that, we've said, you know, let's make sure we produce it correctly, and that we're not just going out on a limb trying to you know, get another, you know, thing put out there, because what's the best use of our time? And obviously right now the radio show is a good use of our time, so we can actually bring you the information from the other room. Actually, you're having a little problem with that pen, aren't you? Julie's helping me today. There's another one on that thing there. She's writing down the questions for me as I'm talking here. So and I've got a whiteboard which you guys can't see, and this whiteboard is in my second part of my office. This area that I'm in right now is my second office area that used to be my private office, that we turned into a screen room, so I can do these types of events, these Facebook Lives, as well as some of the film fight insights that I bring on Patreon, or any of the other stuff. And my kids now take the board and they write things on there, and they've got little hearts and, you know, all this stuff. And my kid comes in here, Royce comes in here now, he has a tutor, because, you know, being at school at the moment, or it was very difficult for kids to be on that computer the entire time. And I just hope we get them off it, because getting kids on this is something, I think you're going to have, you know, trauma centers for kids on computers now, because all the video games they're playing, all that stuff. My kid is constantly Roblox or Minecraft or this or that, and I'm like, you can play it if you go out and play. Let's give us a good balance with those types of things. And that's one of the things at the Peace Fund we try and bring forward with the radio show is to bring parents tips of how to deal with things in this pandemic. You know, how do we work with the things that we are now faced with? Our kids sitting in front of a computer screen for 6 hours of the day or 7 hours of the day. It's not healthy, really not healthy. So you've got to be able to mix that with some sort of other curriculum for them. So that's why I said the radio show would be, how can I put it, not more important, but it has a message and is part of what the Peace Fund is doing. And now that we're coming back out of it, we can start looking at more live events that we do. But again, it's having the time and the resources to put people in the right places now. And that's what we're going to be looking at, is employing people to actually get some of those things done for the Peace Fund. Carla, have I ever been asked to do an event at a large retirement community? A retirement community, it would be a little bit different to do as on a retirement community. Most people there would be in their 70s, I would imagine, in a retirement community. Nobody's really asked me to do that. We haven't really gone to that particular thing. Would it be an academy class would be the question. Everything that you do has to be tailored to the audience that you are delivering it to. So we would look at, if that was the case, it would obviously have to be useful, but you know, for not only for the people attending it, but for us to actually be able to attend that. I'm hitting my mic here. Be able to attend that it would be necessary to make sure that we're providing the right type of service. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it. So again, that would mean how many people were there, what is their mobility like, what is their interest. So again, the type of class that we would run would really be dependent on that. And you know, we have to be, once we get a request like that, we would look at it and say yes or no. We've had many requests to come to different places, but sometimes we can't go there. So that's one of the reasons we actually have the VertCon events. That is to bring you something that we're not able to bring you possibly physically, because there's not as much interest in the area that you're living in to do that. We also, by the way, are going to be having a Highlander Con, and I've kind of mentioned that as well. There will be a Highlander virtual event that we're trying to set up, hopefully by the beginning of July. Again, it will be depend on things, you know, how they're going to pan out. So we'll let you know all about that when that all comes through. Anyway, next one will be Ian. Did I ever want to do any of the comic book movies like Marvel Universe or DC? Yeah, I mean, they're kind of fun to do. I mean, I think, again, it's a whole different genre, and work is work. You know, people have said to me a lot of times, why weren't you in that film? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you get your agent to do that? Well, maybe the agent wasn't notified for that particular role. When you have producers or studios looking at they sometimes just go to certain agencies. None of the other agencies are involved, or there is the producers don't really want your type. There's a number of reasons why people don't go to movies. So whether I want to do something or whether I can do something, you know, it's going to be dependent on what that is. To be honest, I mean, it's anyway. I'm going to move on to the next question because I think I'm going to waffle on otherwise. Lana wants to know whether I actually would do a TikTok dance. Yeah, hell yeah, I'd do a TikTok dance. I mean, it depends. You know, I don't know what one I'd do, but again, that would be something. You know, imagine doing. Nobody's done a TikTok with swords yet. This is what we're looking at possibly doing. So that'd be kind of fun to do. But you know, when I saw TikTok, I was like, it's funny because my wife kind of watches TikTok. Alexandra watches TikTok sometimes, and she says, I love this woman. And this woman's like a mom. And it's the commentary that they have on the world. And some people have made an enormous amount of money on TikTok. So it's, and they're just regular people. And I think that's where the change of this society's come to now, is that we're now in a different way of delivering content, and who becomes a star, who becomes a famous person because of content they were able to create on their own, rather than go to school to learn about acting or dance or movement or speech. There's a lot of different people that are now becoming well known, especially on YouTube, and making a lot of money doing it, which is great. I mean, it's a great platform, but again, I wouldn't call them actors who would be able to be given a role for them to do. They are themselves, and that's all they will ever be, is themselves for those. And it's not get me, that's a great platform, but this is where, when the switchover happened with all the Twitter followers and the Facebook followers back in the early 2000s, and they started putting a lot of these people in films, or they realized that the public were not interested in them playing a role. They were interested in the content they'd been seeing them play, much like Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was known for playing, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. When he went and did The Majestic, which was a really good film, and he did a great job in it, it didn't do as well because people weren't used to seeing Jim Carrey playing a regular role. So the audiences don't go there. And when that doesn't happen, the executives are like, sorry, you're not part of that. We don't want you for that type of thing. So you get typecast in that type of role. Where do things stand on releasing a training video? John, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by releasing a training video. We've been doing training videos for the past year. We're talking about releasing those videos to existing Patreon members, when we're remastering the ones we've already done. So if you'd like to expand a little bit on that, I'm not exactly quite sure about the training videos that you're talking about, unless you're talking about the fitness videos, or the videos that come with the Sword Pro. We kind of go through that, and I actually now, during the events, we're using the Sword Pro during the training videos that we're doing currently, which I've now gotten into reverse sword motions, and when to use it, how to use it. And I'm about to do all the submissions, which came a little late. Sorry about that for some of you. We've been really kind of bombarded, or whatever, with a lot of things. So we just got a little late there. But again, that's one of the reasons now that we have a lot of the live events coming back, and my job is really to sort of bring this together and make sure the live events are working, and the curriculum, and what we're going to do, and how I'm going to shoot it, and who's going to shoot it. All that stuff takes a lot more of my time away from the actual training videos that we've been doing. Now, by the time this month is over, we'll have done 58 training videos, as well as, I think it's about 25 tip videos. So we're talking about a lot of different content there that we're going to be re-releasing as well. Somebody's actually asked me, Ian said, when I got into acting and started doing the Sword XP, what was the #1 challenge I faced? Has it gone away? And does it come back from time to time? The challenge, let's start about acting, because acting is a different thing. Acting is a desire. Acting is, I want to be a movie star. I want to be an actor. I want to be on film. I want to be, etc., etc. That is a desire that you start, and anybody that has become an actor or done it will realize that it takes a lot of work to do that. So the challenges are, where do you go to find the right teacher? And again, I think the same thing is, you've got to look at different teachers to see what you understand and how they teach, what you get back. I mean, I've studied with a lot of different teachers, and I was very fortunate to study with some very good ones that are no longer with us. Some that have moved on to other things as well, or the assistants have now taken over their business. So the challenge really is, first of all, finding the right person for that. The second one is really getting over your nerves to stand up in front of people and start acting. And that wasn't too difficult at first, because I'd been on stage a lot doing dance, etc., for many years. And that wasn't too hard of a challenge, but it still was the butterflies when you had to put a scene up. It's weird. It's just a scene in front of maybe another 20 of your classmates, and you have to put it up. You've still got the jitters about how you're going to do the scene and whether it's going to be good, or, we're always looking for validation. And sometimes, again, this is where I go back to the teacher. Depending on how the teacher reacts, some teachers are kind in their critiques. Some of them want to break you down, and a good teacher really has to know who they're dealing with, because everybody. I have had a couple of really good teachers that were intuitive in what a student needs, what they need to work on, what type of scene they need to work on, whether it's because of who they are and what they can bring to a role, what they can actually express with who they are in that particular role. So the challenge sometimes is, do you get the right critique? The thing about that is just to get it out of the way and say, you know what, I don't care. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to have fun with it. I'm going to enjoy what I'm doing. I'm going to work hard to do it. And this is one thing I'm telling my son right now, who has a lot of concentration issues with, being on the computer. Then his little brother comes in, or he's hungry or something else, and he's bored basically. We have a statement now, and I think I'm going to try and do this with him and with my other kids, and bring them statements that they're going to remember for a long time. And the one he's dealing with right now is concentration is key. And that can run across anything you want to look at, whether you're doing a sword experience, whether you're doing a paper, whether you're doing work. Concentration is key. If you wander in concentration, you're not going to do the job as well as you could do. So concentration is key. So the thing is, working hard and doing that, you've got to not have that fear. No fear. Fear is something that we live with a lot of the time as humans, and it fails us as people because we don't do our best work because we're afraid to fail. And I think if you get rid of that failure element, that fear of failing, then the world's your oyster. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter if you fail. It doesn't matter if you fall flat on your bum. And some of the best entrepreneurs in the world have failed 50 times. And finally, they find that one product that makes them a millionaire. So same thing applies to acting. You just, don't have to fail. And the sword experience as well. It's been going now 5-6 years. And every time we're looking at things, it's been successful. Financially, it's been okay. But we're trying to constantly grow it, bring something new, bring it different, make it better, make it more profitable for it to exist. Because now I have probably 8 to 9 people that work for us on the sword experience now, 10 people that work for us. That's gradually going up because new artwork's coming out, new types of programs we're trying to deliver, new different types of social media platforms we're trying to get to. Patreon, for instance. I know John actually asked about the training or the video, when he was asking about how the videos coming for training or download. Yes, those are coming. Those are the things we're actually working on right now, and hopefully within the next, I'd say the next month or so, we should have something actually on our site. We're really looking at May 1st at relaunching a whole bunch of things, as well as bringing these training videos to you for download. It won't be for DVD, they'll be for download, but we've got to figure out the best way to do that. So okay, so Chris, Chris, I think I know which Chris this is. Any luck with insurance to use aluminums in more advanced classes? Not yet. This is, I would like to bring more advanced classes, but again, that's really working on, how can I put it? At first, when they talk about insurance, is weird. It's just, I'm dealing with wooden bokens here, and I have so many companies that don't even touch it. All the insurance is extremely high, and the minute you start saying, I'm using metal instead of wood, then, oh no, nobody's going to touch you sometimes. So we're gradually getting to that. I'm changing my insurance company right now because I got an astronomical quote on my last insurance company. And the first one I had, this is what I don't understand about insurance companies. They said to you, okay, here's the insurance. This is what it's going to cost. This is what it covers. Great. The year finishes, they audit me to figure out how much money I made or the company made that year. If we made more money, they're going to increase your insurance. What's the difference? The coverage is the same. Is it the exposure, I'm guessing, that you're open to? But, you know, right now, across the board, you're looking at higher expenses that are going to be happening for everybody across the board. We haven't really changed our prices. We've kept our prices pretty much the same, you know, because everything's going up. Even we're looking at new facilities to build in Europe, and just the construction fees are going up 50%. Just the construction fees, which, so if you've got $1 million budget, you're now going to spend 1.5 million to build something. It's astronomical. And why is that? The cost of wood has gone up because you can't get it, or there are so many more protocols in place now, or should I say rules in place now, to bring that wood to the product. You've got to spend more money here, so therefore it increases the price of it. So again, you know, it's going to be a different world. So we're trying to keep prices down, and we're trying to go to places, as I said, that makes sense for us to show you these things. But it's across the board, trying to bring new and innovative stuff that is affordable to everybody, and doesn't get to the point where you say, well, you know, I can't afford this because it's way too expensive. So, but things are going up. So be aware of that everywhere. Now, Claudia's asked me, what happened to me when I ate the ghost pepper taco? It was weird. I've eaten really hot stuff before, and I eat hot stuff. I love spicy food, love it. And I decided to try a ghost pepper taco, and I don't know whether it was something else I'd had before, or I have no idea why, but I had two things. I had a burrito and I had a ghost pepper taco. And the ghost pepper taco was about this big, like this, but they piled it on like this thick on top of the I say meat because I don't eat meat, but the fake meat that they had on top of the taco, because it was a vegan place. And it was tasty, but wow, it was hot. I ate it, and then I kept eating it, and I ate the whole thing. Well, I ate one of them because there was two of them. And it started burning, and it was burning through here. And then I started realizing it was, you know, it wasn't sitting right somehow. And I said, okay, I need some tea or something. They didn't have tea. I had water, and it was fine. But then I started just feeling ill and started feeling dizzy. And I literally said, I've got to get out of here. And I got out, and I literally left the restaurant. By the time I got to the car, I couldn't move. My hands were shaking. I was out of breath. I couldn't breathe. I was on the floor by my car trying to breathe because this thing, and it was burning, and then it would go away, and then I'd be dizzy again. And I actually thought I was going to have to call the ambulance, because it really, there was something happened in the something else I'd eaten with it. I don't know what, but it was not a pleasant experience. And I spoke to my wife, and she's like, call the doctor. I'm like, I'm not calling anybody. I'll be fine. I literally had the dial like this on my phone like this, about to, like, but I was laying in the back of my car going like, whoa, this is just killing me. So, you know, I went back the next day and tried another piece of it, but it wasn't quite as much, and it did nothing to me. So I'm guessing it was something, either the amount of ghost pepper taco, ghost pepper that they actually put in it, or it was some sort of mixture that happened. I have no idea. So Chris is asking me about the island event. I actually mentioned that at the beginning. We actually had our people in Ireland tell us about the rollout of the vaccine, and the way France is looking, which is now shut down, and Italy's looking, and you know, all of them, even England, they're rolling. England's probably the most advanced at the moment in the rollout, but there's still going to be restrictions. So I can't put an event on 2 months ahead of time and then realize that everybody's going to have to be in quarantine for 2 weeks when they get there, and etc., etc., etc. So right now we're holding back on our European events to see whether they're actually going to take place this year, or whether we actually have to push them. That's why we're trying to bring a retreat to Mexico, which we're picking some place. So if you guys are again interested in that at the moment, you know, just let us know, because that's something. But the Euro events, I'd love to go. I'm trying to go to Europe. I'm actually still trying to go to Europe for this year, because I have some business I want to do, and plus my wife and the kids want to see their family. So, I'm trying to get back there, but can't push it too far ahead. I'm trying to push all the events now. We're into the June events at the moment. We're about to release another couple of events for June, and then July, August. We'll see. For me, it always applies to how long will my kids be out of school. So it's kind of part of the issue about that. So Chris, thanks for the thing, and I'm pretty sure that's Chris Fields that did that. I'm pretty sure that knowing when you're talking about metal swords, etc., I'm pretty sure that's Chris. So yeah, there's a lot of different things we're trying to bring, and we're trying to roll out new stuff. As well in my career, acting is now kind of beginning to come back. I do have a couple of projects for later in the year for directing. My company now, because we have a new the way production companies work is you're either a production company that puts on the film, that actually gets the cast and makes sure that you're producing the script and raising the money, and then there's the production company that services the film, and servicing is lucrative. And if you go to any state or other country as a foreign entity, you have to have a local entity be the one that applies for the grants that you would require to produce that film. So right now we have 2 or 3 short films plus one larger film that we've already kind of been greenlit on, and we're looking at producing those through the summer and through the winter, early winter. One of which I may direct, but again, that's going to really be dependent on the virus, because like in Hungary, where my production company is based, it's still locked down. They're quarantined. They're on a quarantine. I don't know whether they've lifted it now, but up until a few days ago, they still had 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock quarantine, and as well as in other countries where you cannot go out or you get fined if you go out. So imagine, here in the US, we're very lucky in some places to be able to do what we do. Even, even the ability to go to the store or even go into a restaurant without having to sit in the restaurant we're very lucky to be able to do that. So, we'll see how these things evolve. But Europe has been a bit of a challenge for us and for everybody, of course, to get anything moving. And I'm pretty sure people in Europe are just dying to go somewhere. I'm pretty sure you're going to find a lot of places this winter going to be packed because people just want to get out. People are just done with this. Got another message, a question from Ian. You're in the Montreal event. That was kind of a fun event, actually, that. Have I ever considered releasing all the action scenes we filmed in a unified storyline? It's interesting that this is one of the things we tried to do, and we've not really done too many unified stories because we've done a Star Wars one, we started doing an Arrow one, which I might bring back and then start putting them all together, but we haven't done enough of them to put a unified storyline together. But that's why we're also bringing out the kind of the documentary type of setup, so that you can see how that process worked, how people got better, the issues or the fun things that happened during that event. When we get to the point of being able to start bringing more elite events, we will start putting them together, much like we did on Highlander. Highlander, you do all the flashbacks. You want to know where you were, what what you looked like, what your attitude was at certain times. We did flashbacks so that when we did cut them together, there would be sort of a timeline of understanding that that made sense. So I think we're going to be pretty close to finishing this soon. But I'm going to answer 1 or 2 more questions. Lana asked what it was like working on the Owl. The Owl was like the precursor to Highlander, and the Owl was that close to being a series, that close, and it was it was CBS that actually did it, and the producer of the Owl went on to do a lot of other things. He actually ended up doing X-Men and a bunch of other things. And he said to me after, he said, "Oh, it was such a shame because we were given a go, and then at the last minute somebody changed their mind and it never made it. I think it was a change of executive or something of that nature happened, and the Owl never made it. It was great to work on, but it's very moody. Again, the whole thing is it's very, how can I put it? It's difficult to get anything made. That's really the thing. It's just very hard to tell what actually gets greenlit. Some things you look at and go, how on earth did that get put on air? And sometimes it could be like the executive's kids really like that type of character. It could be something weird that somebody had no other product to put up there and they put this one in its stead. It could be a number of things. So, All right, last question. Am I vegan, and what's my secret to looking so young? My kids, I think, are that. If I don't do that, if I don't train, I'll tell you something, movement is one of the things that makes me, it's not looking young, it's being able to move as much as you did. Obviously, you can't bounce as much as you do. I was looking at some of the Highlander episodes the other day because I'm still doing all the commentaries on the first season, and I'm up to Band of Brothers now. And I was looking at some of the things with jumping over things and falling over stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. Now I wouldn't necessarily be able to do as much. I'd probably be able to fall, but it probably wouldn't feel quite as good, or I'd be able to get up as quickly. So to be able to do that will lessen with time. But I liken this story to my mom, because my mom, she was 96, one day short of 96 before she died. The year before she got a motor neuron disease, which stopped all her motor functions, absolutely everything, eating, anything. She was going to the store, she was going to the coffee, she was going to do this, and that's what kept her young in movement and in her mind, because she's doing something, she's moving, and that's why I do the sword experience, and why I'm constantly talking to people about make sure you do your joint movements, make sure you're doing your whether it's a squat or some sort of movement during the day, because it will catch up to you without you really realizing how fast things have changed. So yes, I'm vegan, doesn't mean I won't ever eat meat again. I haven't eaten meat, or that's not true, probably. I'll probably, my kids snuck in a little piece of chicken or something somewhere, but in reality, I haven't really eaten meat for many, many years now, for 6, 7, 8 years, 6 years, 7 years, anyway. I think it has changed my ability to get up in the morning. I'm not, as tired. I'm not lethargic. Meat does do that to you. I'm not saying you meat eaters, are bad people. You're just, you just can't help it. I'm joking. Okay. But to be honest, with vegan, the part of the reason people are going vegan as well is the fact that there's not enough food on this planet to feed everybody forever. So eventually that meat chain, or that chain, is going to change. The amount of pollutants that cows and cattle make in the rivers and in the oceans is huge. And the more we have more cows that we have to, I don't know if you realize how much water it takes to actually have a quarter pound of beef. It's absolutely astronomical. It's something like 500 gallons just for this little piece of beef. So, a lot of that is not, it's not sustainable. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot more vegan stuff happening, as well as it being fairly, I don't want to say healthy because that's probably not the right word, possibly better for you being plant-based rather than being meat-based. And yes, there's going to be stuff that's not good for you, like anything. They tell you, I eat Beyond Meat, which is the burgers you have taste just like it. But they say you don't eat that all the time because it's not good for you to eat it every day. But it's the same thing with a hamburger. You don't want to eat a hamburger every day or a piece of meat every single day. You have to change it up. Otherwise, it will affect you, no doubt. And, they actually say that about America, why America had such a large, I actually spoke about this on Peace One Radio the other day, why America was in such a large number of people had died or have been affected by the virus was because it's such an unhealthy country. You know, there are a lot of people that are not eating the right things or going through the day with the right nutrients in their system. A lot of the vegetables we have in this country don't have the right nutrients anymore because they've been grown in grounds to make them as big as possible, but not as nutritious as possible. So there's a lot of things in your food. Take vegan, for instance. That's another misnomer, because in the United States, I don't know if any of you know this, for something to be organic or vegan or whatever, it only needs one ingredient. So something that says it's organic, it might not be 100% organic, it might be just one ingredient. Whereas in Canada, every ingredient in that product has to be organic. So there's a whole different way of looking at things, and it's that whole thing of how can I put it? Misdirection. They call it fake news these days, and that's what we're all in right now, is fake news, nobody really knowing the truth. And I think the only way you do is by looking at both sides of a problem and seeing what the arguments are on both sides of the equation. Anyway, we could go on about this for a long time, but I you know, talking to a camera on my own sometimes gets a little bit rattling on, so I don't want to spend too much more time on this. But anyway, thank you for joining me today, and hopefully I've answered some of your questions that you had. The sword experience is changing. We will be bringing more stuff. We've got, as I said, new products coming out, new events coming out, new programs coming out, and we just want to make it something fun for everybody. And if we can get to any place that we've not been to before, we're going there. And Colorado Springs we've never been to before, we've opened it up there. Ohio we've never been to before, we're opening up there. We're trying to get to Philly, we're trying to get to New York, those places we've never been to. And I'm sorry, Europe, but right now it's a little difficult to get over there, but we'll know in another couple of months how things progress. And hopefully, you know, some of you can join us on our Mexico trip, which will be coming up hopefully in end of November, beginning of December. And of course, share this podcast, like it for us. You know, click on the button below, because we're going to be starting a lot more on YouTube now. We're going to be handling a lot more things on YouTube and bringing more stuff for you on YouTube. So hopefully you'll stick with us and listen to our podcast that, again, we're actually going to be bringing out slightly differently. So thank you again for joining me. I hope you have a great week, great month. And I'll see some of you on Patreon and some of you on our site and some of you at our upcoming events. See you soon.